Okay, can you please tell me about yourself?
Yeah, hi. My name is Rahul and I have around 3.3 years of experience. So I'm working as a Java developer at Infosys. So my main skills are like Java, Spring Boot, microservices, Hibernate, JPA and all. So mostly I work on these technologies. And apart from that, from the database side, I have experience on MySQL and PostgreSQL. And apart from that, from the front end side also, I can work with HTML, CSS. Using that, I have built my own portfolio website. Basically, on the work wise, I don't get much task on HTML, CSS side. So mostly, I'm working as a backend developer only. And also, I am good with the data structures and algorithms. And I have problem solving skills also. So this is all about myself. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay, so do you have the experience on Spring Security?
Yeah, I have experience on it. So we have worked on Spring Security in our last project. Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, can you tell me what is Spring Security and why do we use it?
Yeah, Spring Security is a tool we can say, or uh, it is basically used for the authentication and authorization. So that is the work of Spring Security, and it is a framework for Java applications, and it is basically used for to secure Spring based applications like in the Spring Boot. So it provides various features like authentication, authorization, login, logout, role based access control, password hashing, and CSRF protection and all. So all those things are there, and it can be integrated with the auth and JWT. So these are very much required and essential for the building of the secure application. So yeah.
Okay, okay, can you tell me in very basic, like how do you configure Spring Security in Spring Boot application? What are the steps you follow?
Yeah, in Spring Boot, first of all, we can start with adding the dependency. So suppose if we have pom.xml, then we can include the dependency Spring Boot starter security. So i- as soon as we add this, so by default our application is secure. So all endpoints will be authenticated by default. And further, if you want to customize it, so we can create add configuration class extending web security configure adapter. After that, inside that class we can override the methods to specify authentication mechanism and endpoint security, so and matchers and all we can give there. And also we can define a user detail service or integrate with DB using the JPA for user details. So in that we fetch the details of the users, and further we can get it roles and all, and we can check whatever the roles has been assigned to that user. So accordingly, if any request is coming from the client, so based on that we can make the decision whether that client is allowed to access some specific page or not, or any specific URL or not. So yeah, so that is what is the basic of using the like Spring Security in Spring Boot application.
So how do you implement this role-based access?
Yeah, as I told, to implement role-based access, we can use like HTTP authorized HTTP request is there, right? So in that we can add the request matchers, and there in the URL anything which is coming as admin, so we can give admin. So we can attach with the role that like that has role, and whatever its role it has. So similarly, if any other user is there, so we can attach the another role with that user. So like that we can mention for every user. and whatever the roles are assigned to the specific user, based on that, whatever the access of the URLs that a specific role has, only those URLs will be accessed by that specific user. So yeah, so that is how we can do.
Okay. So instead of giving the role to admin inside the request matches, is there any way using annotations you can do it?
Yeah, we can do, I think pre-authorize is the annotation. So we can give add date of pre-authorize, and then we can mention hash role and whatever admin or user is there. So that way we can give it.
Fine. So what is the difference between pre-authorize and post-authorize? Do you know?
Yeah, pre-authorize is like it evaluates the expression before the method is executed. Okay, and post-authorize is like if it evaluates after the method has been executed. Once it is done, then we can use it. So this is what is the difference. Yeah.
Okay, what is the difference between authentication and authorization?
Yeah, authentication is like it's about whenever we want to verify who is the user. Okay, so that is the authentication, and that is mostly we do using the username and password. And authorization is about determining what that user is allowed for. So like what roles and permissions are given to that specific user. So that is authorization. So for example, that specific user might be allowed to access only some specific URLs, right? So yeah, so that's the difference.
Okay, do you know how we can write the unit test for Spring Security?
Yeah, we can use, I think, at the rate of web MVC test along with mock user or some mock MVC. So we can use those annotations. So like whenever suppose uh, we want to fetch any API, so admin and API we want to fetch. So we can just simply say like mock MVC dot perform, and then we can just say get of that URL, and that and expected and status like is okay. So like that we can give.
Okay, so this is the way we do the testing for the authorized user, right? Now suppose if we want to test for the unauthorized access, so how will you do for that?
For unauthorized user, we can like simply say like status dot is unauthorized. I think we have one method, so that way we can do that.
Okay, okay. Okay, can you tell me which version of Spring Boot you are using right now?
Yeah, I'm using 2.7 right now.
Okay, so you have not worked any Spring Boot higher version than 2.7.
Uh, 3.0, I mean, we have to start working on that. But right now we are working on 2.7 only.
So which version of Java you are working on with that?
Right now I'm working on Java 8.
Okay. So as you said, you plan to work on Spring Boot version 3, right? So can you tell me which version of Java it uses or it is compatible with?
Yeah, I think it's compatible with Java 17 minimum. So it should have 17 or higher version of Java. Yeah.
Okay. And also, are you aware of the changes which has been brought in this version?
Yeah, the major shift was, I think, earlier we were using Java X dot star, like whatever the versions were there, packages were there. Now we are using Jakarta dot star instead of that.
Okay, okay. Any other changes you are aware of moving from Spring Boot 2 to 3?
Apart from that, I think web security configure adapter has been removed, and now we use Lambda to configure HTTP security bins. And also some older matrix and actuator endpoints are restructured or has been moved. So I know right now I'm aware of these only.
Okay, can you tell me why we use Spring Boot over Spring MVC?
Yeah, there are many reasons for that, because the first one is auto configuration. So Spring Boot automatically configures the application based on the dependencies present in the class path, and it removes lots of boilerplate codes. So there is no need to have the complex XML configurations and all. So directly we can use annotations based only. And apart from that, we have embedded server in Spring Boot, so it includes Tomcat, JT and all. So we don't need to deploy the war files in the external server. So we just need to run the application like normal we can run, and we are good to use it. And then we have like starter dependencies are there. So for example, we have a Spring Boot starter web, Spring Boot starter security, yeah, and test. So all those dependencies are there. So we don't have to think the it's dependent libraries and all. So it will automatically manage and it will download the required jars. And then it has the features like actuators and all. So health checks matrix and all can be done like kind of out of the box, so we don't have to worry about adding and going to add some third party libraries and all. So those things are not required. Also, like Spring Boot integrates very well with the Docker, Kubernetes, and CI/CD pipeline, and it supports the building like cloud related microservices. So it is very much good for that. So yeah, so these are the points I remember why Spring Boot is better. Yeah.
So, what is dependency injection and IOC?
Yeah, dependency injection is something which injects dependencies automatically into classes. So for example, we have a constructor injection, setter injection, field injection and all is there. And IOC is inversion of control. So it manages the life cycle and dependencies of the bean. So we have a bean factory and application context. So these are the two IOC containers we have. So basically, Spring scans all the classes which are marked with add component, add service, repository, or controller. So in whatever the classes they have this, so it creates beans out of that those classes. So this container is basically used for creating those beans, injecting dependencies, and handling the life cycle callbacks and managing scopes. So yeah, so this is what is about IOC. Yeah.
Okay, so what is the difference between REST controller and controller?
Yeah, REST controller and controller both are used to define controller classes in Spring MVC, but they are different. Like whenever we say REST controller, so it is nothing but it is a combination of controller and response body. And whenever we have controller, so that is only controller. So basically, we can say REST controller is the specialized version of controller. So whenever we say add REST controller, so it returns the response body directly. So normally it is returned in the form of JSON or XML. And whenever we are using suppose only controller, so that we use in the Spring MVC web application mostly. So wherever we are using suppose views, so only the JSPs and all. So in that case, we can use only controller. So usually this controller it only returns the view names and all. So that is resolved by view resolver, and further it renders the HTML page. Yeah, so that's the main difference between these two. Yeah.
So what is response entity in Spring? Can you explain?
Yeah, response entity is like that whenever we want to uh, send the response from the controller, so then we use it, and that basically is used to customize the entire HTTP response, including the like HTTP status code, header, and body. So like whenever the suppose the response is we want to say success or created, so we can accordingly we can say 200 or 201 or 404 not found. So all those HTTP status code we can give, and also in the headers we can give location, content type, JSON, and all we can give. Response body, it can return any kind of response, like it can return either string, object, map, or anything. So it all that we can do inside the response entity. Yeah, so that is the use of it. Yeah.
Okay, so how can you add custom headers? So suppose in your response entity, we want to add custom header. So how will you do that?
Yeah, for that we can just create the object of the header, HTTP headers, and in that headers we can simply add into the form of key and values. And once it is added, then we can attach it as part of response entity. So in the response entity dot headers, and there we can give this header object we can pass, and yeah, we are good to return the custom headers.
Okay, what is path variable?
A path variable is we use that into the URI path. Basically it allows us to capture part of the URL and pass them as method arguments. So normally whenever we make the RESTful API calls for accessing the resource, so for example let's say any get mapping request is there, and we want the user by ID. Okay, so in that case we can say at the rate of get mapping and then forward slash user, and then in curly braces ID. Okay, now this ID whatever is there in the curly braces, that we can map with the path variable in the method parameter. So that is how we use it. So suppose we are saying any URL, then users forward slash 11. So 11 is the ID. So now in the method, in that method, we can just say further we can make the service call, and then repository call, and we can return back the request. So yeah, so that is how we use the path variable. Yeah.
So tell me one thing, can this path variable handle multiple parameters?
Yeah, it can handle, yes. So now suppose we have user and then user ID is there, and then suppose we want to say let's say orders. So order ID also we want to pass. Okay, so user ID equal to let's say 10, and order ID equal to like 1001 or something like that we want to call. So in that case we can give this in the get mapping, and in the parameters we can pass like at the to path variable, and then we can map with the first parameter, and then again with comma we can give the another path variable again annotation, and we can give here the second parameter. Yeah.
Okay, what is the difference between path variable and request param?
Quest param, so path variable as I told, like whenever we want to like call user ID 10, so in the forward slash we can give it, but there's another way we can do it, like users and then question mark ID equal to 10. So that also we can do, right? So whenever we are using this question mark thing, then we use a request param.
Okay. Okay, coming to microservices, what are the advantages of microservices? Just tell me the points.
Yeah, there are various advantages of microservices. So it is scalable. That is the first advantage. So each service can be scaled independently. So since In microservices, we split the monolithic application into multiple parts, and each parts can be deployed independently, and they each part can have the different technology we can use. So diverse technology we can use, and so maybe one of the microservice will be on Java, second can be on Python, and maybe databases also we can use different one. So this is independent of the like technologies, and but this is not the case of monolithic. And also the development will be faster. So whenever we are having the microservices, so the tasks can be easily split between the teams. So maybe each member can work on the one task or one microservice. So it will be faster, the development will be faster. And then fault tolerance system. So suppose any of the microservices is crashed and it is not working properly, then we can just have a fallback mechanism we can write, and we can temporarily return some default response, or it will not basically break the whole system, and only that part of the application will not be working and rest of the application will be working. So that is also one advantage. And then so the deployment also is very much easy. So like it enables CI/CD and independent releases. So that's also the major advantage of the microservices.
Okay, so how does microservices communicate using Fin client? Can you tell me the basic structure?
Yeah, so we can use at the rate of fin client annotation, and we can give the name of the service, and let's say the interface we are using, any interface, and there we can, let's say we have get user by id. So we can have the get user by id method under the get mapping, and there like usually however like we make the calls into controllers. So similar way here also we can say get mapping, and then a path variable we can give id. So that way we can do it, yeah.
So what is service discovery?
Yes, service discovery, so basically we might have many services running on different ports. So service discovery helps in dynamically discovering the location of the services. So all the services are deployed to the this service discovery. For example, Eureka server. So there whatever the services are deployed, so internally it generates the dynamic URL or dynamic IP addresses for each services. And whenever suppose any request comes from the client, so it goes through the API gateway first, and then whenever API gateway tries to get the information from the service discovery, then service discovery gives the information of this specific services. The dynamically generated IP addresses are shared with the API gateway. So yeah,
So what is this API gateway? Apart from this, what are its uses?
yeah, API gateway is the basically a single entry point for all clients. So any request is coming through the client, so it goes through this API gateway. Okay, so it routes the request to the correct services, and it handles multiple things like authentication and authorization, and then load balancing and rate limiting, then logging. So all these things are happen. I mean, they happen here.
So how does the inter-service communication failure is handled in microservices?
Yeah, so I have used. There are multiple ways, but I have used a circuit breaker mostly. So in the circuit breaker pattern, whenever any request comes, whenever suppose any request comes and the corresponding service is down, in the circuit breaker pattern we write the fallback mechanism. So whenever it is down, it will simply call that fallback method, and the call will go to that fallback method, and in fallback method whatever we have mentioned, so that specific action will be performed. So that is how it is handled, yeah.
So what is centralized configuration in microservices?
Yeah, in microservices, maintaining config files is in each service is kind of not easy. It is very much hard. So centralized configuration is the way which lets us to store all configuration in one place. Okay, so typically we use Spring Cloud config server for this. So it configs are so these configurations are stored in Git, and all services fetch their properties from the config server. So yeah, so the major benefits are like it is single source is there, so we don't have to fetch it from the multiple places, and dynamic config refresh with actuator and bus. Yeah.
Okay, tell me in brief why we use JPA over JDBC.
Yeah, JDBC requires like manual SQL handling and result parsing and all. So lots of boiler plate codes are required in case of the JDBC, but JPA provides the abstraction over SQL. So using entity classes and repository interfaces that can be achieved. So for example, we can use find all, save, find by ID. So all that we can do, but in case of JDBC, we have to write the query to fetch all that. So yeah, so that is the major difference. Yeah.
Okay, so what are the relationship annotations in JPA?
Relationship annotations. So one to one.
Yes.
Yeah, one to one, one to many, many to many, many to one. Yeah, these are there.
Okay, okay, that's enough. So what is lazy and eager loading?
Yeah, eager loading, it loads related entities immediately. Okay. So whenever we have object, and whenever we are trying to load, so it will load everything immediately. But whenever we have lazy loading, so it will load only when we are trying to access it. For example, let's say we have a entity, any user is there, and we have a user dot salary is there. So as soon as we are not doing user dot get salary, it won't be loaded the data. So yeah, so that's what is the lazy and eager loading.
Okay, can you explain the core OOPS concepts?
Yeah, so we have encapsulation, abstraction, then inheritance, then polymorphism.
Okay, can you explain them?
Yeah, so encapsulation is basically it's a way of like bundling data and methods together, and that operate on the data into a single unit. So let's say we have a bank account class, and let's say it have multiple variables. Let's say we have a balance. Okay, so this balance, uh, now we can have the method also, the corresponding method. Basically normally it is a getter and setter method. So this is the meaning, like we have a variable and we have the corresponding method. So apart from that, it also restricts the direct access of some of the objects components, which is usually we achieve using the private access modifier. Then coming to abstraction. So abstraction means the hiding the internal implementation detail and exposing only the relevant features. So we can use abstract classes and interfaces to achieve it. So interface is the way of achieving 100% abstraction, and abstract classes is the way of achieving like partial abstraction. So we have a interface. So under that we can just give the declaration of the methods under that interface, but we have a abstract class. So in that we can give either declaration of the methods, or we can also give the implementation of those methods. So that's what is the abstraction. Then coming to inheritance. So inheritance is when one class inherits the fields and methods of another class. So for example, let's say we have a animal class, and the another like child class, let's say dog class is there, and it extends animal. Okay, so whatever the methods inside animal is there, so that will be automatically accessible to the child class. So that's the inheritance. And then we have polymorphism. So polymorphism means many forms. Poly means many. So it allows the method to behave differently based on the object. So it can be either compile time or it can be runtime. So compile time basically means method overloading. So in this case, the same method name will be there, but the different parameters will be there. So let's say we have a anything like calculator is class is there, and we have add. So add can we can have like two different methods in add. So one might be taking input as a integer, and another might be taking input as a double. So this is overloaded one. So this is the compile time polymorphism, and then we have runtime. So runtime is like, let's say we have again animal class is there, and then we have let's say that cat extends animal. Okay, so whenever we are writing this cat extends animal, so there we can override like whatever the method is there inside the animal. So it will basically override the previous method, and if any time we are going to create the object of this child class, then whenever we are going to call this method, then this the child class method will be called, the overridden one. So yeah, so this is what is about all.
Okay, what is the difference between string builder and string buffer?
A string builder is not thread safe, and string buffer is thread safe.
Okay, and which one is faster?
Yeah, string buffer will be faster because it is not thread safe, so multiple threads can access at the same time, so it will be faster.
Okay, okay, fine. So what are the Java 8 features you are aware of?
There are many features like we have a lambda expression, we have functional interfaces, stream API, optional classes, then we have method referencing, datetime API. Yeah, so these are the ones.
So optional class is static or final.
Optional is final class and it cannot be extended. Yeah.
So what is sequential and parallel stream?
Yeah, sequential is like it will process one element at a time, and parallel stream will use multiple threads for processing. Basically, whenever we have a CPU, the machine where it can handle the multi-processing. So in that case, we can go for the multi parallel stream also. And suppose the sequence doesn't matter, the way we are showing here, right? So it will show randomly, right? So sequence also doesn't matter, then we can go for the parallel stream.
So can you tell me a few of the terminal and non-terminal operations in stream?
Yeah, so terminal operations are like we have collect is there, for each is there, then reduce is there. So those will come under the terminal operations. And intermediate operations are like just on when we apply after the stream. So for example, we have map, then filter, sorted. So all these will come under the intermediate operations. Yeah.
Okay, what is the difference between set and list?
Yeah, set and list are interfaces from the java.util package, and it is a part of collection framework. So list basically allows duplicate elements, and set does not allow duplicates, so it stores unique elements only. So and then we have list always maintains the insertion order, and set generally does not guarantee any order unless like we use linked hash set or tree set. So list maintains the insertion order, and the set does not maintain the insertion order. So in list like we have array list, linked list is there. In set we have hash set, linked hash set, tree hash set and all. And then in performance wise, like array list is faster for random access, and it is slower for the insertion and removal of the middle elements and all.
Okay,
And
wait. So you said that set does not guarantee the order, insertion order, right? Is it true?
No, so hash set does not guarantee the insertion order. But if we have a linked hash set, or if we have a tree set, so in that case, it will be in the sequence. Yeah.
Okay, okay, fine. Okay, what is Java generics?
Yeah, Java generics is like it allows classes and methods to operate on objects. So like it provides the type parameters like t, e. So it can be specified when the classes or methods is used. So I think it was introduced our Java after Java 5. So it is like we have greater than and less than sign. So that is the generics. So it is basically used for the type safety. So it will detect the um, type mismatch at compile time itself, and also like it will eliminate typecasting. So for cleaner and safer code. So and also it enhances the code reusability. So yeah.
So what is type erasure?
Yeah, type erasure is the process used by a Java compiler to remove all generic type information during compilation. So that basically means that the Java generics are only available at compile time, and the type parameters like t and e are erased and replaced with their bounds or objects at runtime. So it is basically used for the backward compatibility to support legacy code. So to ensure the generics don't break the older bytecode, so Java erases all type information after compiling. So that is what is about type erasure. Yeah.
So what is synchronized keyword?
Yeah, synchronized keyword is used like maybe as a block. It can be used, or it can be used with some method names, and it is used basically we can say that it is used to stop multiple threads to enter at the same time, and it locks the access to the critical section of the code to prevent the thread interference. Yeah.
Okay, tell me one thing. Can lambda expression modify the local variables?
Lambda expression, no, they cannot access. Yeah, sorry, no, they can access, but they cannot modify it. Yeah.
So what is the difference between comparable and comparator?
Yeah, comparable is used for natural ordering by implementing compare to method, and comparator provides the custom ordering by using compare method.
Okay, can you just tell me the scenario when I should go for comparable and when I should go for comparator?
Yeah, so let's say whenever we have the requirement, like let's say any class is there and it has multiple properties. Let's say employee class is there and it has name, salary, and multiple other fields, ID, and multiple other fields. Okay, so let's say we have a employee class and it has multiple properties like ID, name, and salary. Okay, so let's say our requirement is to always sort based on the employee ID, okay, or any specific parameter we want to sort based on. So in that case we can simply go with the comparable. But suppose our requirement is to sort the sometimes with the ID and sometimes with the name and maybe sometimes with the salaries, basically more than one parameter. In that case we should use comparator. So yeah, so that's the scenario.
Okay, what is super keyword?
Yeah, super keyword is used to refer to the immediate parent class of a subclass. So it basically helps in accessing parent class methods, constructor, or variable. So basically to call the parent class constructor, we can simply pass super an argument, and to access the parent class variables, we can say super dot that variable name. And similarly, if you want to access the parent class method, so we can say super dot method name. So that's how we can do it. Yeah.
So how many ways thread can?
Yeah, it can be done using two ways. So one is by extending the thread class, and another one is by implementing the runnable interface.